In tonight's Night Vision segment, Switch, Dr. Lewis, a daring psychiatrist, plunges into the mysterious depths of Sydney's tumultuous mind, where her identity fractures into a whirlwind of captivating personalities. Each twist and turn unveils a thrilling exploration of the human psyche. Through hypnosis, Sydney seeks to stitch the fragments together, but her efforts seem as futile as chasing echoes in a void. Sydney begins encountering her personalities beyond the safety of therapy, their presence no longer confined to the realm of memory, but intruding into her everyday waking life. Each persona reveals itself as a distorted reflection of her, both familiar and foreign, their intentions veiled in ambiguity. Among the personas emerges her inner child, not the innocent archetype of childhood, but a sinister and unyielding force, exuding an aura of quiet menace. The closer Dr. Lewis draws to unraveling her psyche, the more the boundaries between healer and patient dissolve, swallowed by a creeping sense of inevitability. As Sydney battles the oppressive hold of her inner demons, Dr. Lewis navigates a bewildering labyrinth of identity, where clarity is elusive and answers seem forever just beyond her grasp. The narrative builds to a tense climax where the facade of control shatters, revealing a chilling possibility that Sydney's authentic self might have always been beyond her reach, lost to the shadows that threaten to define her. The episode's visual style deeply reflects Sydney's fragmented mental state, with its rapid jump cuts, disorienting flashes of light, and intrusive auditory cues. The experience creates a powerful sense of unease that mirrors her internal struggles. These artistic choices aim to draw us into Sydney's world, allowing us to feel her confusion and distress. However, this jarring presentation can also leave viewers feeling overwhelmed, provoking an important reflection. Is this chaotic representation a thoughtful way to express her pain, or does it inadvertently alienate us from her experience? As Sydney's sessions progress, a deeper mystery unfolds. She begins to experience out-of-body phenomenon, feeling as though she's been driven by an external force. Her actions and thoughts seem disconnected, as though another presence is seizing control of her being. The tension builds as Dr. Taylor struggles to ground Sydney in reality, utilizing every psychological tool at her disposal. Yet the audience senses a growing futility in her efforts. Sydney is revealed to be an unwitting vessel for another consciousness, a chilling twist that recontextualizes her stifled demeanor and erratic behavior. The ultimate reveal is layered with irony and tragedy. Sydney's torment was never truly her own, but a manifestation of an external force commandeering her existence. Her identity, fragile and tenuous from the start, is ultimately consumed by this alien invader. The episode ends on a haunting note, with Sydney's voice fading into silence as Dr. Taylor looks on, powerless to save her patient from this enigmatic fate. The final twist lingers, leaving viewers to ponder the nature of identity, the fragility of the human mind, and the ethical boundaries of psychological intervention. This segment stands as both a cautionary tale and a missed opportunity. It reminds us of the thin line between the self and the other, the precarious balance between sanity and madness. In its final moments, as the screen fades to black, we're left to grapple with an unsettling truth. Sometimes the greatest horror lies not in what we know, but in what we can never truly understand. In this segment, horror isn't found in ghosts or monsters. It's in the splintering of identity, in the quiet terror of losing yourself to the promises of a better you. At first glance, Switch seems like a grim exploration of dissociative identity disorder, a condition where fragmented identities take root to cope with unthinkable trauma. But beneath its psychological surface lies a critique of the modern world, a society so obsessed with reinvention and self-optimization that it tears us apart in the process. Probably my favorite living philosopher is Byung-Chul Han and his critique of the Achievement Society. The Achievement Society adds a cultural layer to this psychological terror. In Han's world, the demand to constantly improve and reinvent oneself creates an environment ripe for psychological fracture. The protagonist of Switch isn't just struggling with her inner demons. She's a product of a world that tells us we're never good enough as we are. Modern psychologists like Bessel van der Kolk, the author of the iconic book about trauma, The Body Keeps the Score, emphasizes how societal pressures can amplify trauma and dissociation. Bessel argues that dissociation is the body's way of saying, I cannot live in this pain, and the protagonist's yearning for a new identity reflects this truth. However, as the episode progresses, it becomes clear that their transformation is not a resolution, but a fragmentation, a metaphor for the internal chaos of dissociation itself. In Switch, the protagonist's decision to switch is framed as empowerment, but in reality it's coercion, driven by the suffocating ideals of perfection and reinvention that define modern life. The Achievement Society doesn't just demand we work harder, it demands we become different people entirely. And in that relentless pursuit of transformation, the self, already fragile, begins to fracture. What makes Switch terrifying is its exploration of the mind as a battleground. The protagonist isn't fighting external forces at all. She's at war with herself, which is a theme that deeply resonates with me. The episode uses disorienting visuals and jarring pacing to simulate the experience of dissociation, pulling the viewer into the protagonist's unraveling psyche. This mirrors psychological accounts of DID, where individuals describe feeling like spectators in their own lives. The protagonist's new self takes on a life of its own, leaving her trapped in a narrative they no longer control, a chilling reflection of how fragmented identities can seize power in real-world cases of dissociation. In the end, Switch is less about the protagonist's transformation and more about their unmaking. Psychologist Richard Schwartz, creator of internal family systems therapy, argues that every part of the self, even the ones we want to discard, serves a purpose. The protagonist's decision to abandon or kill their old identities ignores this wisdom, treating parts of themselves as disposable. But identity isn't a product you can trade. It's a delicate ecosystem, and when we try to sever parts of ourselves, we risk unraveling the whole. The protagonist's tragedy is a cautionary tale for our times, a reminder that the self, fractured though it may be, must be embraced, not discarded. In this sense, Switch doesn't tell just a story about one person's unraveling. It holds a mirror to a world that thrives on fragmentation. In our pursuit of reinvention, we risk losing touch with the very essence of who we are. Switch leaves us with an uneasy truth. There's no escape from the self, only the possibility of reckoning with it. The final shot lingers not on horror, but on despair, a reminder that the only way out is through. If we follow Kant's philosophy and assume that Sydney's fragmented personality due to DID means she lacks full moral responsibility for her actions, there is still some action she could take to try to improve her situation or mitigate harm. Kantian ethics emphasizes striving for self-improvement and moral development, even in the face of difficult circumstances. If I could say anything to Sydney, it would be this. This path will not be easy, for freedom is never a gift, it's a duty. You must choose to confront parts of yourself with courage and reason, not to silence them, but to recognize them and reconcile them as aspects of your singular self. I don't find a Kant lens particularly helpful here, but I do find Fichte helpful, and I think he would say something like, know that this struggle is not yours alone. We exist as free beings only in relation to others, and it is through mutual recognition that we grow. Trust that those who care for you, who seek to help you, are extensions of the freedom you strive to claim. Above all, remember this. You are the author of your own story. Your identities do not control you. You must assert yourself as the unity that binds them. This is the work of a lifetime, the infinite striving that defines all of us. And in this striving, you will not only find yourself, but create yourself anew. If there's anyone out there that needs to hear it, get back on meds, go to therapy, and stop playing life on very hard difficulty. Running away from mental health problems will only kill you horrifically in the long run, and it's avoidable, so deal with it head on, cowboy. You have no idea how badly the world still needs you. Check out this video next.